Well, I mentioned Leo the Lion, the MGM logo. He really was a lion. They took him on a publicity tour in 1928. This photo shows him on the road, and you know that he lives on in the MGM logo that launches films to this day. Ken Wales' film and television production history does not go back as far as Leo, but his experience includes almost half a century. We're not nailing that year, Ken, in film production, but you started in the industry.
Quite young, yes. Glenn Ford was my mentor, and in high school, where I went to Santa Monica High School, he had gone there and gave an award for young actors, and that's how Glenn became my mentor. And I was so honored over the years to be close to Glenn and his son Peter, and indeed I was honored to deliver the eulogy at his services when he passed away last September.
Really?
But what a thing to do, someone who mentored you, then to deliver that great last tribute.
Fine actor.
Indeed.
God's hand of favor, his affirmation on your life and for this career was very evident very early.
I think it was. And you know, that does remind me, when I was in high school, I was at Santa Monica High School, and the principal of the high school, Dr. Knoll, was an elder in my father's church. In fact, his daughter was my favorite girlfriend, and we dated a lot. And
your favorite girlfriend?
Favorite girlfriend. We had several, but that was another story. But indeed, that's how I got through high school. Dated the principal's daughter. Just kidding. But a wonderful family, and Walt Disney himself one day called Dr. Knoll and said, "Is there a young man who might spend a week with me? I'm interested to know what teenagers are thinking and doing." And Dr. Knoll said, "I have just the young fellow for you," and I was selected. And my dad would take me over at 7 o'clock in the morning. I had to leave at 6 to get to Disney by 7. And I spent that entire week with Walt, breakfast, lunch, and dinner in his office. And responding to questions, he was asking me, would teenagers think this or that? Meeting with animators, people writing the music, watching them film on the sets. And then on Thursday, Walt said, "Today's a special event. We're going to Disneyland." If you could imagine Walt Disney saying, "We're going to Disneyland." And I got to comment on the different rides and things that were under construction. But all through this, I got to ask questions too about filmmaking. And on the last day, Friday, it was to be the conclusion of the week, Walt said, "Well, Ken, tell me what you've learned." And I did. And he said, "You know, you've said you want to make family films, just like we do." And I said, "Oh yes, Mr. Disney, that's my goal." He said, "Well, other people that try to do family films just miss the mark because they make them too sweet, too saccharine. Life is too easy." I can hear him saying it. He said, "It's just not real." And that's a good point. I think a lot of people have done that. Sure enough, Walt then said, "And Ken, you have to remember that Bambi's mother has to be killed by the hunter. Bambi has to run through the forest fire. It's what Bambi does with all of that that's the story. You have to remember there must always be jeopardy and danger in every good story." And I've always remembered that. And sure enough, then Walt said, "And Ken, I think you have a chance to be a good filmmaker, and I want to help you." And Maura, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a personal checkbook, not the company checkbook, but his own. And he wrote on it, tore it off, and said, "Ken, that's $5,000. $1,000 a year for your tuition to the University of Southern California, USC Film School. Use it well." What a miracle. Our family couldn't have afforded that. My dad a pastor, my mom a teacher, that wouldn't have been in the future. And yet this fine man reached out to a young person to say, "I want to see that you have a head start." And so that's the reason I do a lot of mentoring and teaching, especially at Christian colleges and universities, and helping young people to really capture the excitement of telling wonderful stories with God at the center.
What a vital life message.
Indeed.
For you as a man on this path. I don't know if any major project you've done has been easy. Waiting seems to be
That's right.
The theme.
It is in God's
of the
time.
fulfillment of all your visions.
It's part of the journey. It is the journey. And then, of course, the culmination is to be able to see that when that work is done, and as a producer gathering these talented people, that's not my doing. God is enabling the selection of these artists just perfect for the journey.
Your journey is one amazing story after another. One thing I wanted to ask you about as a Christian in the midst of this entertainment world, 1930, the Hollywood Production Code.
Indeed.
Had made statements such as, no film may throw ridicule on any religious faith. That whole code was abandoned in 1967 in favor of MPAA film rating system, the Motion Picture Association of America, rating the films. We've come a long way.
I wish we could have kept much of the old code. I think some of it is honored. Indeed, the rating system has helped to identify, at least we kind of know what's in a film by that. So hooray for Jack Valenti for writing that code and seeing that it was established. Those things can always be refined, but it really must be in the hearts and minds and souls of the tellers of the story in the first place. That's where it begins.